These presidents didn't just lead a country, they changed the world. From revolution to emancipation, world wars to economic booms, these leaders navigated some of the most pivotal moments in human history. Their decisions reverberate even today, shaping the world we live in. In this video, we're diving deep into the lives and legacies of the top 10 most influential U.S. presidents. Get ready for some serious history, guys, because things are about to get presidential.
Our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, inherited a nation on the brink of collapse. The year is 1861, and the issue of slavery has ripped the United States in two. Lincoln, a man who believed in the power of words and the promise of America, refused to let the nation crumble. With unwavering determination, he led the Union through the Civil War, a conflict that would define his presidency and redefine a nation. During this time, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, a beacon of hope for millions of enslaved African Americans. Lincoln's legacy extends far beyond the battlefield. His eloquence, compassion, and commitment to preserving the Union solidified his place as one of the most revered figures in American history. He showed us that leadership is not about wielding power, but about inspiring hope, even in the darkest of hours.
Imagine being the first president of a brand new nation. That's the monumental task that fell upon George Washington, a man who had already led a revolution, but was now tasked with building a nation from the ground up. Washington wasn't just president, he was the blueprint, setting precedents that would shape the presidency for centuries to come. He established the cabinet, insisted on being called Mr. President, and chose to step down after 2 terms, establishing the peaceful transition of power. Washington's influence extended far beyond the Oval Office. He understood that for this fledgling nation to survive, it needed to stay out of foreign entanglements. His farewell address, warning against political factions and foreign alliances, became a cornerstone of American foreign policy. Washington wasn't perfect. He grappled with the complexities of slavery and the challenges of a young nation, but his leadership, vision, and commitment to liberty and democracy laid the foundation for the United States we know today.
The year is 1933. America is in the throes of the Great Depression. Enter Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or FDR, a man who would lead America out of its darkest hour and into a new era of hope and progress. Roosevelt, with his infectious optimism, ushered in the New Deal, a series of programs and reforms designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. From the Civilian Conservation Corps to the Social Security Act, the New Deal fundamentally reshaped the role of government in American society. As World War II erupted, Roosevelt led America through its deadliest conflict and onto the world stage as a global superpower. His fireside chats became a source of comfort and strength for millions of Americans during the war years. Roosevelt's leadership, a blend of pragmatism and idealism, helped to defeat fascism and shape the post-war world. He expanded the power of the presidency, redefined the relationship between the government and its citizens, and led America through some of its most trying times.
Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence, the champion of liberty, and also a slave owner. It's this inherent contradiction that makes Jefferson such a complex figure in American history. Here's a man who could pen the immortal words, "All men are created equal," while simultaneously owning hundreds of slaves. As the 3rd president, he oversaw the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, doubling the size of the United States. Jefferson's vision extended beyond territorial expansion. He believed in a nation of small farmers, limited government, and individual liberty. He founded the University of Virginia, a testament to his belief in the power of education. Jefferson's legacy, like the man himself, is full of contradictions. He was a champion of liberty who failed to fully extend that liberty to all. He was a visionary leader who grappled with the limitations of his time. His words and ideas continue to resonate today, reminding us that the pursuit of a more perfect union is an ongoing journey.
Theodore Roosevelt, the youngest president in American history, burst onto the scene with the energy of 1,000 suns. He wasn't content to just occupy the Oval Office. He wanted to shake things up, bust trusts, conserve natural resources, and establish America as a global power. Roosevelt was a progressive reformer who took on corporate giants with his trust-busting policies. He was also a passionate conservationist, setting aside millions of acres of land for national parks and forests. Roosevelt's foreign policy was guided by his famous motto, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." He negotiated the Panama Canal Treaty, revolutionizing global trade and cementing America's naval power. He also mediated the Russo-Japanese War, earning himself the Nobel Peace Prize. Roosevelt's presidency was a whirlwind of activity, reform, and expansion. He left an indelible mark on America, reminding us that leadership requires courage, vision, and a healthy dose of adventure.
Woodrow Wilson, a former scholar and university president, brought his academic rigor and idealism to the White House. Wilson led America through World War I, navigating the treacherous waters of neutrality before ultimately committing American troops to the fight. His 14 points, a blueprint for a lasting peace, reflected his belief in international cooperation and self-determination. Wilson's vision, while ultimately flawed, laid the groundwork for future international organizations like the United Nations. His League of Nations aimed to prevent future wars but failed to gain the necessary support from the U.S. Senate. Despite his shortcomings, Wilson's legacy is one of ambition, idealism, and an unwavering belief in the power of international cooperation. He showed us that even in the aftermath of unimaginable destruction, hope can emerge.
Harry S. Truman, a man who never expected to be president, found himself thrust into the global spotlight upon Franklin D. Roosevelt's death in 1945. Truman, a no-nonsense leader known for his decisiveness, made the momentous decision to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, effectively ending the war but ushering in the nuclear age. Truman's presidency was about more than just ending a war. It was about rebuilding a shattered world. He implemented the Marshall Plan, a massive economic aid package that helped to rebuild Western Europe and contain the spread of communism. Truman also oversaw the desegregation of the US Armed Forces, a landmark decision that challenged racial barriers and helped to advance the cause of civil rights. Truman's presidency was a time of immense change and challenge. He navigated the end of a world war, the dawn of the nuclear age, and the escalating tensions of the Cold War with pragmatism and determination. Truman's leadership on the world stage was crucial in shaping the post-war order.
Dwight D Eisenhower, or Ike, brought his military experience and calm demeanor to the White House after leading Allied forces to victory in World War II. Eisenhower navigated the treacherous waters of the Cold War, recognizing the need to avoid a potentially catastrophic nuclear conflict. Under his leadership, America pursued a policy of containment, seeking to limit the spread of communism while also engaging in diplomatic efforts to reduce tensions. He famously warned against the influence of the military-industrial complex. Eisenhower oversaw a period of economic prosperity and growth, fueled in part by the construction of the interstate highway system. He also signed the Civil Rights Act of 1957, a landmark piece of legislation that aimed to protect the voting rights of African Americans. Eisenhower's presidency was a time of stability, prosperity, and cautious optimism. He showed us that leadership requires a steady hand, a willingness to engage with adversaries, and an unwavering commitment to peace and progress.
John F. Kennedy, the youngest elected president in American history, brought youthful energy, charisma, and a spirit of optimism to the White House. He challenged Americans to reach for the stars, literally, with his bold vision of landing a man on the moon before the end of the decade. Kennedy's presidency was tragically cut short, but in his brief time in office, he left an indelible mark on the nation and the world. He navigated the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tense standoff with the Soviet Union that brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. Kennedy's calm demeanor and his willingness to pursue diplomacy ultimately averted disaster. Beyond the Cold War, Kennedy inspired a generation with his call to service, his belief in the power of education, and his vision of a more just and equitable society. His words, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," resonated with millions of Americans. Kennedy's legacy is one of hope, inspiration, and unfulfilled promise.
Ronald Reagan, a former Hollywood actor turned politician, brought his charisma, conservative principles, and unwavering belief in American exceptionalism to the White House. Reagan's presidency was a time of significant change both domestically and internationally. He implemented conservative economic policies, cutting taxes and regulations in an effort to stimulate economic growth. On the international stage, Reagan adopted a hard line against the Soviet Union, famously calling it the evil empire. He increased military spending and challenged Soviet expansionism. Reagan also understood the importance of diplomacy, forging a close relationship with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. Together, they negotiated a series of arms control agreements that helped to reduce tensions and pave the way for the eventual end of the Cold War. Reagan's presidency was a time of both confrontation and cooperation, leaving an indelible mark on America and the world.
So there you have it, folks. our whirlwind tour of the 10 most influential U.S. presidents. From leading revolutions to ending wars, these leaders shaped the destiny of a nation and left an indelible mark on the world. Now, it's your turn. Let me know in the comments below who you think deserves the top spot as the most influential U.S. president. Was it Lincoln's unwavering commitment to unity, Washington's foundational leadership, or FDR's transformative New Deal? Remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about shaping the future. Let's learn from these leaders, engage in thoughtful debate, and strive to create a world worthy of their legacy.